So I wanted to start by taking you back to 2007. At the time, you're third in the world. Next year, you win your first Grand Slam. But no matter what you tried, I believe at the time, whether that's lifting weights, biking for hours, changing coaches, I think you underwent nasal surgery to improve breathing. Fast forward to the 2010 Australian Open, which I think was one of the lowest points of your career at the time. Tell me about a doctor that was watching that tournament on television that changed everything for you.
Yes, his name is Igor Chetojevic, and for some reason in Australia in particular I was always struggling very early in my career with respiratory issues, kind of mild version of asthma and just suffocation during the night for many years since I was 7 years old. And for some reason, you know, as the time was passing by, all these allergies were gaining more, I guess, intensity in terms of the reaction. I felt that it was just getting stronger and stronger, and the place where I felt it the most was always a tennis court. And that's where, you know, emotions kick in, expectations, pressure, and when you mix it all together, you get formula that is causing you to really experience some major health problems and issues on the court, and because of it, I was retiring matches, and it took me a lot of time to recover. So Dr. Igor reached out to people that we have some friends in common, and they reached out to my parents. And you know, when I met him, I did a couple of sessions, and I you know, felt really a big difference. That was the first time that I got introduced to the quantum physics, to the quantum field world, to the biofeedback. He had all this analysis and overview of my emotional body, of my mental body, of my physical body, on all the food allergies and everything that I was experiencing. And so we started slowly taking off layer by layer and really going deep into things that are related to my health and trying to understand what is the core of it. So, of course, diet was one of the most integral part of the problem, and changing the diet was something that allowed me to get rid of the allergies and everything, particularly gluten and dairy that I removed from my diet, and refined sugar. And so it was a change, but I was very determined because I could feel instantly, right after the first session, second session with him, I could sense that there is an improvement.
Family was initially concerned when you were losing weight, right?
Yes, they were initially concerned, and I was actually starting to get rid of the red meat as well, because I felt like I had also. I had to put a lot of energy and effort into digestive process to digest the meat. So and that would take a lot of essential energy that I need for, you know, for my focus, for the recovery, for the next training session or for the next match. That was the initial point of the journey that got me to the point where I am at the moment, where I'm eating plant-based, you know, where I'm not eating any animal products. So it was a really interesting journey that started when you mentioned in 2010.
What do you eat in an average day today?
Well, I start off always when I rise from the bed. I start with warm water and lemon, so I can help my body detoxify. And then I would have celery juice on an empty stomach. And then I would make a break, and then I would have my smoothie, green smoothie with different algae and different fruits and superfoods, great supplements that I use that allow me to have mental clarity, you know, feeling good, longevity, I guess, and different benefits on health. And I eat a lot of fruits for the first part of the day, salads. I don't like to eat any food that would require much energy for digestion, especially in the first part of the day, because that's when I need the most energy for my training. So I'm keeping things quite light, and I would have probably like pseudo grains like quinoa and millet and wild rice, sweet potato and normal potato, like steamed or boiled.
You were coached by the famed coach Jensik. By 6, you're already thinking you can be number 1 in the world. Why?
So I fell in love with it when I was 4, and my dad bought me a tennis racket, and they were making 3 tennis courts in front of the restaurant, which were run by my parents back in a mountain resort here in Serbia. And we used to spend a lot of time there, and my dad, my uncle, and my aunt, they were all competitive skiers. And my father used to play soccer as well, and my mom graduated in the University of Sports. So there is an athletic gene in the family that runs, and so it's no accident that I ended up playing sport, but it is a little bit odd that I started playing tennis, which was quite unknown in my family. But I think it was a sign of a destiny, 3 tennis courts being built when I started watching tennis on the TV. It was the Wimbledon finals. And Jelena Gencic showed up very, very soon after that with her camps. And my parents, I'm very grateful that they, first of all, supported me and my wish to play tennis as a kid.
How long did they hide from you the sacrifices that they had to make so you could pursue your dreams?
For a long time. They did hide, and they succeeded in hiding a lot of things that made them suffer and that they had to sacrifice in order for me to pursue my love for tennis, my love for sport. But there were certain things that they could not hide from me. I could clearly see. I remember that at one point my dad took out a 10 Deutschmark bill and put it on the table, and he said, "This is all we got," which is equivalent to $10 nowadays, maybe even less. Because at that time, it was really not about tennis. It was more about us surviving as family and having bread to eat during the day. And but somehow, my parents found a way, and they were a great team. Because my mom, she was, and she still is, a pillar of the family. She's that stability. She holds everybody together, and she's an incredibly strong woman, truly an inspiring woman that has had to handle 4 men in a very small apartment with all our different needs and activities, and she did everything a one woman could possibly do, and she was preparing breakfast, lunch, dinner, cleaning, washing, ironing, picking up at school, bringing to school. She was, superwoman, literally. And my dad, on the other hand, he was the one that was providing, and he was the one that was also a visionary. But at that time, where you had $1 of 10 Deutschmarks on the table for the whole family of 5, it took a lot of guts to really stick with the vision of supporting me to become a successful professional tennis player. He still is in my life someone that finds always strength when you need it the most, and that's where I think also where I inherited that trait on the court. When I need to somehow find a way and find that strength, I think that's the dad in me.
How much consideration did you and your brothers give to switching nationalities and playing for England back in the day when finances were really tight?
Well, fortunately for us, I was doing really well in the international tournaments under 12 and under 14 years of age. And so I got spotted by tennis agents, traveling around in this junior events. And then we got offered to switch the nationalities to British nationality when I was, I think, 14 years old. And it was very tempting at that time for my parents. Very, very tempting because of the
Would have solved your problems.
Yeah, exactly. my family, my parents would get a job, my family would have a house. I mean, it was a great, great deal. I'm not saying that it would particularly be wrong if we did that. Who knows where the journey would take us, but I think life has just arranged things and organized things in such a way that it had to be that way.
What do you remember from the conversation where you guys as a family ultimately decided to turn it down?
Well, it was mostly the decision of my parents, to be honest. You know, yes, I was of course included and involved in the conversations, and I personally didn't feel it from the beginning. I said, listen, I don't want to go and live in England where I don't know anybody. I want to stay here with my friends. I have my school, I have my friends, I have my life, I have my country, I have my language, I have everything here. I just didn't feel that I would feel happiest there. But I understood that it was a decision that my parents had to take, because it was not only about, I guess, how you feel somewhere, but it's just whether we can survive as family, and something had to be sacrificed. So if I wanted to pursue the tennis career, then they had to strongly take in consideration moving to London. But Dad and Mom, you know, made that risk, turned down the offer, and we stayed here.
What was the tournament or match where you felt like you really arrived?
It's a good question. I think it was probably Wimbledon was always a very special tournament, and it was always a dream tournament for me when I was a kid. I always wanted to win Wimbledon. The first top 100 breakthrough that I had was there. I qualified and I saved, I think, 2 or 3 match points in the last round of qualifications. One of the main motivations that I had and driving forces that I had in that match particularly was my brothers joining me in London, because if they were to come, I had to qualify. And I won 3 rounds and got to the 4th round in Wimbledon and qualified for top 100, and that's where I really felt, okay, now I entered the elite arena of professional tennis.
I wanted to talk to you about clutch moments. When you're in those situations, how do you avoid distractions?
Consciously breathing first. That's probably the simplest thing that you could do, but probably the most effective. I think the experience of being in this particular situation so many times before in my career helps me every next time that I have to face the adversity and face the distractions and, you know, my thoughts and what ifs and fears and so forth. I think everyone goes through that thought process. It's just, and I don't think it's particularly bad. I was thinking it's bad, so I was trying to ignore it, or I was trying to shut it down. But I think the major transformation in a positive way for me started when I was starting to acknowledge it and accept it as part of me. It's there, my ego is there, my fears are there, everything is there. It's present, but then how will I address it in a way that is going to help me to overcome that, to transform it into positive fuel that is going to help me overcome the clutch moments that you talked about, just feel happy and joyful and present on the court and get the best out of that experience.
How do you do it?
Well, I practice a lot of mindfulness. So, you know, meditation, you know, journaling, talking with my team, with my parents, with my wife, with everybody who is around me, trying to address certain, with my, of course, life coaches that I have, spiritual guides and that I have as well, that help me address certain emotional, you know, issues or traumas or whatever it is that tend to appear on the court. So when it appears on a break point, when I'm facing a match point or break point or, you know, clutch moments, they do tend to surface, but I manage to gain the control over them much quicker, and I manage to impose my positive affirmation and positive feeling Or if that doesn't happen, then I just try to be conscious that I have to accept that moment, that that's going to happen, but I focus on my breathing and I focus on being in the moment and what needs to be done next moment, which is playing the right shot, positioning myself well on the court, and just focusing on executing the point right. And that's easier, much easier said than it's done. And I think anyone who plays the sport on the highest level will understand that. It just takes years of devoted practice mentally, not just physically. And you have to do it. You can't expect others to really fix your emotional or mental issues. They can encourage you and they can empower you, and they can understand you and they can give you tools, but you have to use those tools and do it the right way.
The Olympics, how tough in the Rio Olympics was getting eliminated in the first round?
That was one of the most heartbreaking moments I had in my career.
Really?
Yes. Because I built with myself huge expectation for the Olympic Games in Rio. I was number one of the world. I won 4 slams in a row. It was a peak of my career in terms of results, in terms of how I play, how I feel. I felt if there was ever a time for me to get the gold medal or fight for a gold medal, it was now. But because I guess I got injured, also because I built such a huge pressure and expectation on myself. It was just unbearable. It was too much. And I at the time, I just wasn't aware how to handle it in a proper way. And I got injured. And I had to, I lost the first round match against Del Potro, who went on to win the silver medal. And I still managed to play tight match, 2 tie breaks, but it was just very heartbreaking because Olympics is obviously a biggest and most important sports manifestation in the history of sports, and representing my country in such event is a huge honor and privilege. And 4 years later, I have, I think, more experience mentally, emotionally, how to approach that. So I will make certain changes and corrections to my preparation prior to Tokyo and to how I go about things while I'm there, because I want to treat it as any other tournament, because in the past I was treating it as something completely different, which essentially it is, but I think in order for me to really get the best outcome, which would ideally be fighting for a medal, I need to treat it as any other big tournament that I play individually.
To what extent do you feel you get the credit that you deserve?
Interesting question. I honestly don't really think about that so much, and or at least I'm not thinking about it as much as I used to. I actually don't feel that I don't have as much love from the crowds on the stadiums or for people around the world as much as maybe it's portrayed in the media. In contrary, I actually do feel a lot of love, acceptance, and appreciation and respect, most of all. And respect for me is a very important element of love, which is the ultimate energy and the source that drives us all. So if someone has respect to me, and I of course I'll have respect to him. And it's the other way around. I have respect also for someone that doesn't think so fondly of me or doesn't like me, whatever it is. And that's okay. I'm really trying to focus most constructively all my life force and energy into really being the best person I could possibly be, really. And of course, it is different when you're playing on a big stadium and then most of the stadium is cheering your name or most of the stadium is cheering your opponent's name. I mean,
well, you said when everybody's chanting Roger Federer's name as example, you've actually trained yourself to think as if everybody's chanting your name. Explain that.
Well, it's not much to explain. It's really just a mechanism, I guess. It's just you know, your reality or your experience in external life or whatever happens is just the reflection, I believe, reflection of what's going on inside of you. So it might sound weird. It probably is weird for a lot of people because obviously for everyone is saying Roger or Rafa or whatever it is. But, and I hear that too. Part of me hears that too, of course, but part of me inside says, okay, I'm not going to let that, you know, bring you down or, you know, because of it, you might lose a tennis match or you're going to feel bad or you're going to feel angry or upset, but I'm going to help you feel better. And so I try to transform that into something that is useful for me.
In what ways do you think the three of you have pushed one another to be better? Meaning you, Rafa, Roger?
Yes. Well, we still do. We still push each other. We still drive each other to be the best we could possibly be with the tennis racket on the court. Roger has inspired me in many ways, as Rafa as well. I mean, Roger has particularly showed not just me but all the generation after him, and you know how efficiently and smartly you can train and organize your private life, professional life in order to thrive, in order to be your best self, in order to be a champion, and how to, you know, carry yourself on the court with dignity and everything. And Rafa, on the other hand, you know, taught me how to have this never die, never give up spirit, this kind of respect for you know, the sport, for your opponents. So I did learn a lot of things from them, and I'm openly saying that even though they're my two biggest opponents, I try to, you know, always tell myself, be open-minded, be open-hearted for learning from anybody. It doesn't need to be Rafa and Roger only, or it might be any, you know, someone that is ranked outside of top 100. I feel like life is a continuous learning journey.
How true is it that you and Rafa were close friends until you started beating him?
Well, we have to define what close friends means. So it's really not. We were never really so close as I would be close with, you know, my childhood friends, or he would be with his friends. It's very hard, you know, because, you know, your main rivals, you're both fighting for something that only one can get, you know what I mean? But we always had the respect for each other, because I think we are all aware of how many kids look at us and look what we do, what we say, how we behave towards each other, towards the sport, towards other people. And the example that we give is something that is very important to all of us.
How confident are you that when it's all said and done, you'll have the career Grand Slam record?
I'm always very confident in myself. I think that confidence is derived from self-belief. Self-belief is derived from, I guess, clarity that you have, and clarity that you have is derived from the love and joy for what you do, or what you choose to do in your life. Of course, there are things that have to be sacrificed. Unfortunately, I wish to spend more time with my family, with my kids. Sometimes I have to leave them for a month or something like that, and that's really hard. But at the same time, I'm very grateful that I have, you know, closest people in my life that still support me on this great mission, and understand that that's the journey that has chose me. Honestly, I do believe that also journey chooses you, not just the other way around. So I think that I still have things to do here in the sport, and I believe I can win most slams and break the record for longest number one, and I believe those are definitely my clear goals. But at the same time, they're not the only thing that motivates me on a daily basis. It's not sustainable. It doesn't fuel me every day. What fuels me every day is something that is more related to my growth, personally.
What's the likelihood you're still playing at 40?
Look, I don't believe in limits. I think limits are only illusion of your ego or your mind. I definitely want to go for a long time, but I know that at the same time I'll have to, maintain the right principles and the routine to maintain the health and well-being of my body, mind, soul, and everything has to work in synergy and in harmony with my family, my life, private life. I'm aware that the tempo and the amount of tournaments that I'm playing is going to decrease very soon. So I will not be able to play on this intensity with this many tournaments and this much traveling for a long time. So I might be playing at 40, but there will probably be then just focusing on, biggest tournaments and tournaments that mean the most to me.
We're obviously sitting right now at your grandfather's apartment here in Belgrade. You've lived through 2 wars, the latter of which being 1999 when NATO starts bombing Serbia. The last 78 days, you and your family were living on a second floor apartment at the time.
Yes.
What do you remember seeing? What do you remember hearing?
Well, first of all, I'm sorry we don't have an Apple here, because when I walked into this apartment, I was talking with my wife about that. We were remembering the time of our visits here as a couple as well, and me coming to visit my grandfather. One of the most profound memories would be him cutting an apple in front of me, and that was his thing. Regardless of what is happening in the world, he would come with his knife and with his apple and just cut it in a particular way that I still use today. I use his technique, even though it's dangerous for my for my fingers, but I do it anyway because it's a very fond memory of him. And this is the apartment where, as I said at the beginning, I used to spend a lot of time with my brothers, with my family, with my parents, with my aunt and her family. So it was a lot of people, particularly in '99 when we had bombings, as you mentioned. We did live in the apartment that is about 500 feet away from here. We would come always to this apartment and always to this building every single night for God knows how many nights, but particularly 15, 20 nights of bombing because our building did not have a shelter. So this building had a shelter, underground shelter. So it was just a horrifying experience for everyone, particularly for children that were, we did not really realize what is happening. Why are the planes flying over our city and dropping bombs? Who does that? And but at the same time, it's unfortunate to say that, but after a month, we just really stopped reacting to it. I remember I was celebrating my 12th birthday party at the tennis club Partizan, where I grew up, and during the happy birthday song, there was a plane just flying over. You can't really comprehend how horrifying and scary that experience is, and how helpless you are. You are here on the ground, and someone is flying over and just dropping bomb in a second and just disappearing.
What about when you're outside one time and you slip?
Oh yeah, that was the first, I think it was the first or second night or something like that of bombing. And so we were just about to fall asleep again. And then a huge explosion happened. And then my mom, she stood up very quickly and she hit the heaters and with her head, and she felt unconscious. And so there was us crying because of the bombs and us crying because mom is not reacting and my dad is there and it's just what is happening, you know. And so luckily my dad manages to help my mom get back to herself normal as much as she could. And we collect our stuff quickly and just take the necessities and we go out. There was no street lights, everything was shut off, and it was so loud that we could not hear each other. We were very close to each other, but we could not, even if you scream, they don't hear you. My dad was carrying my brothers and my mom was running with stuff, and then I slipped and I fell. And as I turned around, I looked towards the building and I see this, stealth plane just flying and just dropping things, and then the ground is shaking. And then, of course, that's one of the most traumatic experience and images that I had in my childhood that stayed with me till this day. And we were lucky, I think, our families, that we did not lose anybody that is very close to us. There are a lot of people that lost very close people in their lives, and that's a different level of suffering and different level of trauma. I mean, I can't even imagine the pain that I had to bear to go through that.
There was a quote that you gave that I thought was interesting, where you said, "You can carry the hatred, the revenge, the betrayal, the feeling of anger towards those who did that to you, to your people, to your country, but you can also use them as a tool to make you believe, to make you stronger. That's what I've learned to do." How so?
Yes, it's interesting. I think I remember saying that. And at that time, I was still upset. I was still angry. But I used that in a way that fuels me to be successful in tennis. But that changed. I really don't have this emotion anymore. When I say you will not forget, I will not forget, and a lot of people will never forget what happened. But at the same time, I don't think it's good for anybody to be stuck in the emotion of hatred, an emotion of anger, rage, because someone destroyed your home and people and killed your close one. I mean, I can only imagine, again, the amount of pain that you feel when you lose your close one. How it is possible that big countries come together and bomb a small country with helpless people on the street and just destroy everything. I couldn't understand that. There is no justification for war. There is no justification for bombing, for killing somebody, for taking away the home. I mean, this is, an ultimate cruelty, And that has made me and everybody in Serbia very angry. And the scars of these emotions, of this anger, still are today present in everybody. But I worked on myself, I must say, and on those emotions to forgive, because you need to forgive. Finally, how can you be fueled more by anything but by love? And love is forgiveness. And that's my philosophy of life. And as hard as it might be, but at the end of the day, you can, and I think you should forgive, because you have to move on. If you're stuck in that emotion, what are you going to make out of your life? I mean, it's always going to hold you back. It's always going to hold you down, not just professionally, but privately, emotionally. It's hard. It's really hard. These people in Serbia have suffered a lot, in the last 100 years. In the First World War, over 1 million Serbian people died, And but look, that's a kind of a destiny, I guess, that we as people have here in this region. But I still believe that can make us stronger. I really appreciate everything that I experienced in life, because I know that particularly those times have made me so resilient and so strong, but also so appreciative of everything that I have in life today.
You said your greatest achievement is your open mind.
Yeah.
Why?
Because you need to have open mind in order to forgive, in order to move on. I mean, if you have a closed mind, I mean, it's really hard to learn anything. Believe in love, believe in this universal force that binds us together, that unites us all. And when you open your heart and when you open your mind, then you are, you know, more prone to improve and love and bring people closer and understand. I think most of the conflicts in wars that happen today is because there's no understanding of really, like, there's a lot of religious wars in the history of humankind because there's no understanding. It's because I'm better than you and you know, my God is better than your God or whatever it is. It's like, you know, I don't think that's the future that we want for our humankind on this planet.
Where are we?
So we're in the shelter under the apartment where we just talked. This is where we spent every single night for at least 14, 15 nights of bombings. And it's crazy when you think about the amount of people that had to come here in the shelter and hide from the danger that was coming from the air. And yeah, this definitely stayed the same as it was 20 years ago.
How many people would be in here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think about it, but I mean, the whole building, which has, you know, who knows, over 50 apartments would be here with all the families, children, everybody. So, you know, there's not so much space. I mean, there's, you know, places like this, like a little tunnels where people wouldn't even go inside. Actually, yeah, you would close this door so that any possible fire or, I don't know, detonation or anything like that, explosion would not harm you. And everything is basically inside there. I mean, all the little, I guess, corners where people would just hide and look for a place, safe place, you know.
What do you remember doing when you were down here?
I mean, it all looks so different now. I mean, I haven't been here. I've been here probably about, you know, 7, 8 years ago the last time, just, and I had a sneak peek, but I don't remember any of this. I don't remember. I was so tiny. I was so small. So, and I was in full fear and just unsafe and just feeling disturbed emotionally and unaware of what the next moment brings to me personally, to my brothers, to my family. But I remember there was in the first couple of days there was a lot of fear present here and a lot of trembling, a lot of tears, a lot of suffering, and and then I think after about 5, 6 days, people started singing, playing cards, and just accepting that that's the reality that they have to face. So accepting that they're gonna have to come every night into this shelter and pray that everything will be fine. And whilst being here, you might as well, you know, just enjoying the positivity. Right now, we're coming into the playground area where we used to spend a lot of time, and you might want to check that out. That's our grandpa, that's me in the middle, and Jelena Gencic on the left. And
Coach?
it's basically made just under the apartment where we just did an interview.
Oh, really?
That's Grandpa's apartment right there, first floor. So, yeah, that's beautiful. Really, really nice.
And we should introduce your brother.
Yeah. My brother Jole, the most handsome of the 3 brothers.
As well as your
silly,
close friend and best man at your wedding?
Yes, best man and best friend, Nevin, who actually also grew up in this building, and his apartment is just on the opposite end, the same floor. So they were the first neighbors, actually. We met when we were what, 12?
12.
12
That's-
years
yeah,
old.
12 years
And it was
old.
about the time of the war, time
war.
of the bombings actually. We used to spend the time in shelters a lot. That's how we connect.
So how about the most trouble this
Most
guy
trouble?
got into growing up? The best story each of you guys have.
We should not
We don't
speak
we don't have we don't have that much time. But
no
we all used to play here in this street, the playground right here, little football, soccer pitch here, and basketball, hide and seek, every possible outdoor social game that you can think of, we played it. Game, sport, whatever. I remember falling down on my knees so many times in this football pitch here. I mean, football court, so many times. I don't know how my knees stayed, healthy.
You should just come here with whatever sport you would like to play and just
Invent.
find an empty spot. Yeah.
We were improvising with everything, right? And we would use walls of this building, our building here. I mean, no one would be complaining because, the best thing you want to see as an adult, as a parent, especially as kids being outside playing with the ball. I mean, unless we really start breaking windows, then that would be an issue, because that happened as well. Especially these two windows, I think I broke them twice each.
You did?
Yeah, with tennis balls, with football, with basketball.
Did you get in trouble?
Yeah, of course. Well, we'd get in trouble big time, but then we would run, because it's big area, so we would not come back for a few hours. Maybe I can hit a few balls here.
Sure.
That feels nice.
Does it bring back
Oh
memories?
my gosh, it feels so good.
Does it?
Honestly, it does. It's just like, I mean, it feels completely different now, but it makes me feel so happy, and that's something I really would take away as the highlight of my childhood is always spending time outdoors, playing sports, socializing, and that's what I wish to see actually a little bit more with generation nowadays, to be honest.
School?
School, yes. Let's hit the road. We're in front of the primary school Bora Stankovic, where we all went to this school. So it's very close to where we live. We used to spend a lot of time, obviously, here in this outdoor area as well, playing around, sitting. As we were growing older, we were less fooling around there, but more kind of like being cool and sitting on these steps and just observing the younger crowd.
So did he pick on you a lot growing up?
Yeah, actually,
Not as much as
I got
Marco.
I got picked by Marco quite a bit.
What about by Novak?
Not that much, because when I was growing up, he was traveling quite a bit, and we didn't have enough time to bond and for him to pick up on me so much. So yeah.
Sad story.
I guess now is the time, actually.
No, now
that's why-
Making up for last time.
now
So this guy.
now I'm not brave enough, because he's stronger than me now physically, so I'm just admiring my brother rather than picking up on him.
How about your greatest weakness?
My greatest weakness. My greatest weakness is, and greatest strength at the same time, is ability or inability to comprehend things on a deeper level. To be more concrete, I feel I'm at my best when I understand that the power comes from within, and that I can change everything inside, whatever is happening outside, whether it's tennis court, whether it's relationship with my closest ones, whether it's whatever it is, I can solve it inside because I can change the vibration and frequency that I'm resonating on, and then the reality changes. Vulnerability is a beautiful thing, because when you're vulnerable, then you are emotional, then you're free, then you're kind, you're loving. So vulnerability is beautiful to show, especially for men. I see men a lot of times they don't show their vulnerability because, especially particularly in sports, because you have to be macho, you have to be strong and everything. But I think that shows me the weaknesses that I have and the path that is still ongoing and that will probably never stop. A path of self-realization, of self-development and growth, self-love finally. But it takes a lot of effort. Every day, I try to be conscious of that.
How did you propose?
She thought we were going hiking or something like this, but we went for a hot air balloon ride. And I arranged another hot air balloon in the distance, that when we are coming closer to it, so it rises and then it releases a huge banner sign, "Will you marry me?"
I say, "Are we meant to meet another hot air balloon on our way?" And he goes like, "No, this is awkward, what's happening?"
The guy who was piloting the hot air balloon was trying to detach and undo the sign that was supposed to be released.
When he finally manages to unwrap it, he burns the balloon.
So there was a panic, so the balloon started going down, and she was like,
"Oh my God, there is a hole in a balloon."
I turned around to the pilot, I was like, "Please, can you help me do something? We're missing an opportunity. The window is coming closer," right?
And then the thing falls down and it says, and I'm reading it slowly because it's letter up, and I'm like,
"What, will you marry me?"
but I'm like, it's a commercial? Is he crazy at 7 a.m.? Why would he want to put a commercial out?
She was thinking someone is doing a commercial banner.
It's not a commercial. Oh my God, and he's already down on the knee. And I'm like, oh, come on.
And she keeps on telling me she knows me so well that I can't surprise her. But I'm really, really glad that I managed to surprise her that time when I needed to.
Children. You have two. One anymore?
Oops, tough question. I am really happy with our two children at the moment. I'm gonna give you a very political answer here. We're as couple fine for now, but I'm just gonna say for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's not to say there couldn't be more kids in the future.
You never know. Life is full of wonderful surprises, and we are so blessed to be parents of two angels that are our teachers. They teach us how to stay in the moment, how to be present, how to be joyful and playful. They awaken our inner children that we've abandoned for years.
So who's more interested in having more kids, you or the wife?
I am.
How many more?
Come on, man! Don't put me on spot here.
How did having kids kind of change, it just kind of upend your life?
Wow, I mean, when I became a father, I really never knew how much more I can love, and the dimension of emotion and love that I experienced that day when Stefan came to us. It was just inexplicable and uncomparable to anything else that I have personally experienced, achieved in my life. And I'm sure Jelena will say the same and agree. I mean, anybody who is a parent understands the amount of love and support and dedication, unconditional love that you feel towards your child, and the responsibility, and your life just completely shifts and turns around upside down.
How do you think you'll go about finding a balance between all the opportunities that your success has created for your kids with not wanting to dampen motivation? Because obviously they'll be growing up in much different circumstances
much
than
different
you.
circumstances. There are pros and cons of that, of course. The pros that they will not have the heartache and the challenges and obstacles that we had financially, economically, obviously. But at the same time, they will have to experience, I think, a much greater emotional challenges, I think, and in their upbringing mentally, to be regarded as the son or the daughter of, and their journey of self-growth is going to be, I think, really demanding. My daughter Tara, she's obviously she's 2 or just over 2 years old and still very young, doesn't realize what is happening in tennis and who is who and what is happening. You know, she knows I go to play tennis and she just knows that I hold a racket and I go with the bag and I play. And I come back and I put her to bed, that's all. And my boy, he already starting to realize what's going on. He went to see me play in Wimbledon, a couple of other tournaments, now in Dubai recently as well for a match or two. And he's starting to understand. And he's a very smart boy and very mature for his age. And he's handling it very well. That's something that is going to be a task of all of us, I think, to create circumstances where they can, and conditions in life in which they can thrive to be the best versions of human beings that they possibly can. And whatever they choose to do in life, whether it's tennis, sport, arts, whatever they choose in life, we will be there to really support them all the way as any parent would do.
For a 2-year period starting in July 2014, you win 158 matches, only 13 losses, 6 majors, 4 consecutive, which is as dominant a period as anybody's ever had in the history of the sport. And you win the French Open in June 2016, which I guess is the one major that had eluded you. And you said at that point you just kind of lost your mojo.
Yeah.
Why were you wondering if you'd ever be able to get back to the place that you were at playing-wise?
I was quite convinced that everything will be fine, and after that I'll keep on going and keep on, dominating the tennis world, winning matches. And then I realized that it's not really like that. And then I realized that I came to the stage of my life and my career where I had to dig deeper and understand myself on a much deeper levels than what I have had till that point. And I've put a lot of weight in my life and people around me in their lives on winning the French Open and completing the 4 slams. But I think I probably put way too much weight on that, meaning the happiness would be dependent on me winning or not. And then I realized that when I won, of course I was happy. I achieved something that I wanted to achieve for so many years, but I was not fulfilled fully. Something was lacking. It was some dark place where there was some little child hidden in the corner, crying and asking for attention, but not in a way through achievements, but in a way through, emotions, through other ways of communication.
How so?
Well, I realized that because of my devotion to tennis and because of the way that got me to achieve those things up to that point, I left that inner child aside, and it didn't grow with me. And in other words, I did not dedicate enough time and proper way of addressing and treating myself on an emotional level. So I didn't grow up emotionally as much as I did tennis-wise. And that's when I started addressing that a bit more. And then I had to endure through that journey, and then tennis results were suffering more after that. I got injured as well. And I'm super glad that I've done that. I just focus on appreciating and understanding and accepting that something happened and it happened for a reason. I am a more mature, more grown person inside. I'm I think more enabled to deal with my emotions and deal with everything that life, has to throw at me.
Well, that's interesting because I mentioned I was listening to one of the podcast interviews you gave where you alluded to around the same time you were going through marital challenges.
Yes.
What do you think you learned about yourself having gone through that?
Well, I learned that when you expect the least, that's when, life will give you something to work at internally. I really feel my relationship became deeper, more significant, more intrinsic. And I realized actually up to that moment that the relationship with some of the closest people in my life were quite superficial and shallow because I just didn't know how to handle that.
What did it teach you about your wife?
What did it teach me about my wife? Well, it taught me that we have to go on this journey together. And that it's inevitable that she has to endure the same journey as I do at the same time. Otherwise, we can't stay together. And I'm really grateful and happy that she embarked on the same journey, her own journey, but parallelly at the same time as I did.
We were talking about wanting to talk about charity, and your book, Serve to Win, that you wrote many years back. There's a Winston Churchill quote in the book that says, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give."
Yeah.
I know you've been thinking a lot about how you can use your platform to create social change.
Yeah.
In what ways?
Well, I've said a little while ago that tennis has allowed me to have a stage in which I can communicate with the youth, particularly that I'm kind of focused on, and also through our foundation here in Serbia, and motivate them to be the best they can possibly be, to believe in themselves, to believe in their dreams, to believe anything is possible. And that's something that is very dear and very important to me. I feel there is a much greater mission in life than in tennis than just winning a tennis trophy.
Why did you decide through your foundation to focus on early childhood development?
Well, we founded the foundation in 2007 with my parents.
Novak Fund.
Yes, exactly. And for 3-4 years, we were helping everywhere. I mean, we were trying to help. We were funding churches, schools, the people with different ailments.
Tough to track progress.
Just exactly, and we were all over the place. And then UNICEF actually provided us staggering data that there was over 50% of children not attending any preschool programs. And then we wondered why, and it was partly financial reasons, partly culturally, because in our culture, it's parents think it's much better for a child to be growing up next to their grandparents and family rather than being in the kindergarten. And so then we said, okay, this is what we want to do, because there's an obvious misconception of what kindergarten represents and what early childhood development is and what it means for humans' life. And then we back that up with the scientific evidence that says, from 0 to 7 years is the vastest growth of the human brain. So little by little, now almost 10 years later, we almost opened, I think, almost 50 and renovated 50 kindergartens. We have over 20, almost 25,000 children in the program.
So they play, they draw together, and they learn together new things. The socialization is so important. The kids have to, interact with other children and to learn to share, to learn to see the differences and appreciate the differences rather than judge and overcome obstacles and work as a team. Another aspect of our work is that we work with parents as well. So we have the project called Support, Not Perfection, for parents such as I was, that want to be perfect, they want to do everything perfect for their child, and then they realize that's not what your child needs. Your child doesn't have to have a perfect parent, it needs to have a supportive parent.
The level of appreciation is really high. The parents that go through the whole program, so the 10 workshops included, they really report significant progress with respect to their approach, I would say, to their children and to parenting in general.
I'm really proud of the foundation's team. There's young people who are very motivated, very inspired. They know they're part of something that is much larger than all of us, and it's affecting education in children's lives, and by consequence of that, it's affecting the future of our country.
The PhD program with the University of Belgrade, how did that come about?
It's not just about us giving to the communities and opening kindergartens. It's also about, as I said, raising awareness. And you can't raise awareness without the data. And we need people who actually recognize the importance of digging deep in all this and learning more about children and their needs and how do you raise a conscious adult tomorrow to be the leader of the society.
I'm very grateful, and I feel as a part of a big family, and that's why I emphasize working together. I do believe, firmly believe that that he sparked something in us. He sparked the change, and I think that we feel that, and we have the need to spark that change in other people.
What's been the biggest challenge, or some of the biggest challenges, in building the foundation?
The biggest problem is that in our country, it's not as developed as in America, for instance. We still have to pay taxes on the donations, which is strange. So even if somebody donates, we still have to give a portion of funds to the country, which is strange because we give everything to the country. When you do philanthropy, that's all you do, you help the country. They haven't yet recognized that.
Your long-term goals with the foundation would be what?
Well, we are hoping we can have every single child in Serbia in the future attending one of the early childhood development programs. And it is a big goal because 51 or 2% children were not attending any early childhood programs in 2011. Now we're 2020, and that has changed. But it's still a very long way. And I think we would like to probably even go out from Serbia and start helping also other countries in the region and maybe in the world, but right now we're focused here.
Before you found success, how did you find smart ways to save money financially?
Well, you learn from your parents, obviously. I mean, they teach you about some fundamental things in life. They made us realize how important it is to have the awareness about what how you spend, how you save. But I think also the circumstances in which we grew up, going back to the situation where my dad put 10 Deutschmarks on the table, that's all you had. So I think also those circumstances and the environment taught us big lessons about money, and money being something that you have to value, that you have to respect, because you have to earn it, you have to work hard for it, and when you do, it doesn't belong to you. You know, it's just a mean that goes through, and it allows you to live a nicer life, but it does not give you happiness, it does not give you joy. That's something completely different.
In Monaco,
Yeah.
you aren't the center of attention,
Yeah.
which also has to be a nice
Yeah,
change of pace.
exactly,
right?
exactly. I mean, I'm not looking to be the center of attention. I also, when I'm here, but I understand that people, you know, obviously follow tennis and follow my results and my tournaments, and they cheer for me, they give me support, and I feel the love. And for me, that's the focus. And I don't perceive myself as a big star. I don't try to act like that. I try to be friendly and kind to everybody on the street, and I think people appreciate that.
How do you think your success has changed the perception that people had of Serbia?
I I try to be humble about that, so I let other people really do their judgment and analysis on that. But
What's your gut tell you? though?
I feel that through sport, people get closer to each other. Sport has power to unite, as Nelson Mandela used to say. And I truly believe in that. So the amount of success that our athletes made in the last couple of decades in different sports was really significantly improving the image of our country in the world, especially in the West. And I am happy to be part of that team and part of the contribution. So you can say that my success had a positive impact on reputation of Serbia, for sure.
What was it like for you when all of a sudden your name and picture started popping up all around town?
I don't like that so much, to be honest with you. I really don't. I accept it, but I don't like it. I don't like seeing myself everywhere. I don't. But I know it's part of what I do and part of the success. And my father particularly likes to show off that his son is, you know, successful and everything, and I understand that. You know,
what did he do?
well, he has, you know, he has a way of doing that. He just above the restaurant that my parents are running, in that building, he well, he has a permission, I guess, to put like a huge banners of me with different trophies and things that he likes, so you can actually see that from highway coming into the city. So he does that, but yeah, I mean, I just laugh about it, and I don't see myself. I don't enjoy that so much, to be honest, but I accept it.
What does Serbia mean to you?
Well, Serbia is my cradle. Serbia is the country that allowed me to grow up into the person and tennis player that I am today, and for that I'm eternally grateful to Serbia. I don't see my country or Serbia, when you say Serbia, I don't see it through the lens of politics or anything else. I see Serbia as a country, a mother to all of us that, you know, gave us life and gave us opportunity to grow into people we are today. So Serbia will forever be my home number one.
What role did your grandpa play in your life?
He was a huge support in my life. He would be accompanying me to the school, to my training, tennis, to my outings with friends, whatever it is, he would be always there, and I could always rely on him because he was fully devoted grandpa. And when my parents had to work, he would be there covering, and I just had a very, very special bond with him.
How much do you enjoy the travel?
I don't enjoy travel nowadays as much as I used to. You know, when I travel, but I stay somewhere for a long time without seeing my kids and my family, that's starting to be really difficult for me. I do not find it as smooth as it used to be.
How do you handle it?
Well, I handle it fine. I mean, I just, as I told you, you just have to accept things and understand that things can't be ideal.
Yeah.
I think I'm experienced enough to know how to handle it emotionally and mentally, to know how to dedicate a time on the court. When I'm on the court, that's it. I'm there. Nothing else is existing really, and I'm fully immersed into what I have to do. But it's true that moment is coming where I'm gonna have to adjust to these things, because I want to be active father. I don't want to be father that is always on the road.
How many languages do you speak?
Well, fluently probably like 4, I would say. But I speak Italian and you know, English and French now. German and Spanish, so I can communicate in Spanish and in German. It's nice to speak more languages, I guess.
And you're continuing to learn.
Yeah, I
languages,
love
right?
languages. I think it's a respectful way as well when you go somewhere to at least learn a few phrases in that language. You pay respect to the people, to the country, to their culture. I think it just makes your experience more pleasurable and more enjoyable. Now we're headed towards a tennis club, Partizan, where I was practicing and where I grew up and spent most of my childhood days with a tennis racket and tennis training. It was in that club. So we're going to go there, and we have not announced ourselves that we're coming, so I don't know what's expecting us. Ko si, Zago, draga? Joj, što mi je drago da te vidim. I used to spend hours and hours and hours here in this lounge, you know, playing social games with friends, talking and resting and kind of anticipating the next training session. We would just play the whole summer when there is no school. We would just travel around Serbia, play tournaments, and we would enjoy it so much. And I didn't need anything. I wasn't looking for anything else. That was my life, and that was my love and my passion, and I just loved it. There's some of course nicer looking clubs, more modern clubs around Belgrade and Serbia, but there's probably no club that has a longer tennis tradition and more successful tennis tradition than this club.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely wonderful to be here. Coach, how was practice? What do you think?
Practice
Are you
was great
satisfied?
according to the plan.
Did it?
We worked especially today on balance, transition of weight to the ball, full swing, and obviously the length. So imbalance means that you have to be a little bit like more front for the legs. You cannot fall off the ball, otherwise the stroke is not effective enough.
Because if you have too much strength and too much speed into the ball, you're too early there, and then you are not coordinated well, and then what happens is you go this way, right?
On the back
you
foot.
hit the ball, or you twist your hips and you're falling back. And he was talking about the length. We worked on specifically today on the length of my shots. So trying to get as close to the baseline as possible from various positions of the court. The follow through needs to go all the way in order to actually get that ball to go deeper in the court, rather than sometimes stopping here, which automatically is going to produce shorter ball for your opponent to dominate and dictate the play in that point.
If you don't mind, show how you've tinkered with your serve over the years.
So I did struggle particularly back in 2010, 9, 10. I did change my technique for the serve, so biomechanically
We didn't even go there.
my elbow was
too open.
actually going too open here, so I don't know. I try to work on the serve. I start to have a little bit of an issues with the elbow. That's, you know, the only surgery I had back in 2018. So this is if I remember well. I don't want to reproduce it because I don't want to go back.
Don't get back.
But
please.
I was basically going here and then here.
Yeah.
So my racket had, and the entire racket was quite far from my head. It was not there. Basically, right now, it's right there. It's where it's supposed to be. I make the whole motion, but I get here. And before I was doing this, and then I would move my body, and then the hand will follow. But there was a lot of wear and tear on the entire kinetic chain of the whole arm, of the back, of the hips, and I would just kind of pull, and I start having issues with the shoulder, with the elbow, etc. You want to hit the serve? Last one. Well
What do
done,
you think?
man.
I have talent, right?
You do definitely have a talent of running away from the ball. Let's see you go. Come on, you haven't done one single exercise.
I'll
You've
do
been
that.
here
I'll
2
do that
hours, man. Come on.
exercise.
What's going on? Exactly. Everybody knows the whole thing.
You can do it.
Put me through one of those.
This, yeah,
Now,
but
trust me, this is easier.
Right after
100 kg.
you. After you.
Let's see what you got. Yeah, you got a nice pec right there.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
So let's do one for the back. It's one of the yoga stretches that I like to do. Let's see if you could.
I'm not flexible.
No, not bad. Okay, so let's.
So you're gonna like break
bend
my
this knee
leg.
a little bit. Can you try to put that? No, let's not. Yeah, let's not do that one. Let's do a lighter version. Rotate to the right. Exhale to your left.
Am I moving
Then
my
you're
hip?
stretching your hips should move, but not extremely, not like this.
Okay.
So we'll do the cat. And your back, exactly. Exactly. It's full stretch. Inhale all the way down, your head up. Feels good. You're always smiling, it's amazing.
Am I?
Really.
Oh.
It's inspiring, very inspiring to see you smiling all day. Especially after those serves that you received.
I thought I was gonna get nailed big time. I thought I was gonna get nailed big time. Didn't you want to hit it full speed once just to nail me to see? Would have made for good television. Although it was good enough television.
I was
50%.
thinking about it, I must admit, but then I thought, you know, Graham is such a nice guy. He came all over from all over from United States to visit me, and I have to respect that. So, yeah. And I didn't want to mess with any security, medical insurance or
no
anything
flight
like
back
that.
with assistance. We don't like
Exactly. Just I played it safe.
I appreciate your
Don't worry,
generosity.
don't worry. Join,
You're gonna.
join, please.
What's this?
This is a little traditional salute at the end of the good day of training, and usually the newcomer has to say one word that we all say in 3, 2, 1. What is the word? But it has to be inspirational.
Can it be success?
Success. Success on 3. 1, 2, 3. Success.
Bravo.
Good job.